Today we talk about tetrachords. A tetrachord is a specific pattern of notes and intervals. And in our use of the word, we're looking at four notes that are separated by three intervals. And if you're given a starting note, that pattern of intervals will be whole, whole, half, or whole step, half step. So if we start on a given note, C, we're going to move up a whole step. That'll bring us to the note D. Notice we've skipped the black key in between because we've moved up two half steps or a whole step. Moving up again from D, we're going to get a whole step up to E. And then our last interval is a half step, which will move us from E to F. There's that naturally occurring half step in the piano keyboard. So our first tetrachord is spelled C, D, E, F. And we see that the intervals between those keys is a whole and a half. Kind of wish I had written those above so you could see how they line up better with the black keys, but you can use your eyes to see that yourself. Do you see any other all-natural tetrachords on the board, children? Do you? Oh, what? Okay. So if we start on G now and we move up a whole step, we're going to get to A. A up a whole step is to B, and then there's that other naturally occurring half step. That's the key to finding these tetrachords using only the white keys, right, is that last half step from B to C. So we've got a tetrachord built on C, leads up to F. And the tetrachord built on G leads back to C. Okay, so we've got a whole, whole, half, and then starting after G, another whole, whole, half tetrachord. So we see that if we put those two tetrachords together, we get the full major scale. And that's the formula to create a major scale is you take two tetrachords and you separate them by a whole step. And that gives you a major scale in which the first lowest note, C, has an octave equivalent at the end of the second tetrachord on the right side there. So we get the whole C major scale. Conversely, or similarly, I should say, you can just think of the entire pattern of whole and half steps for a major scale as consisting of whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. For my mind, I like to think of it as those two tetrachords with a separation in the middle because it just seems like less to remember, less to screw up. So let's make a major scale starting on the note D. We know that for a major scale we have to use each letter of the musical alphabet in sequence without skipping or reusing any of them. That's going to be very important to us because D major does not just use the white keys, it does use some of those enharmonic keys in between. So we start on D and we're going to construct a tetrachord. Up a whole step from D is going to be E. And up from E, we're going to go a whole step again. We have to skip over F natural and get up to this key. Are we going to use F sharp or G? Well, I kind of already gave it away because we have to use some sort of F, so we have to use F sharp. And going up from there, we're going to go a half step, and that brings us to G. So that is really good that we did not use G flat because then we would have skipped a letter and then we would have used another letter twice. I have seen students do this and you want to really avoid that. You want to use each letter once. That completes our first tetrachord. So to build our second tetrachord, are we going to start on G? Of course not. We need to be separated by a whole step. So we need to jump up to A. And we're going to start our next tetrachord on A. Don't start it on G. Okay, even though it looks like you've already got a whole step there, A is the new starting note. We're going to go up to B for a whole step. We're going to skip over C and get to our enharmonic key. Are we using C sharp or D? Should be obvious by now, but we're going to use C sharp. Plus, we don't want to mix sharps and flats in our major scale, so we've already set up the pattern using an F sharp earlier, so we know we have to stick with sharps. Gives us C sharp. Finally, we're going to move a half step up to D, and that completes our second tetrachord, and we can check ourselves. Did we, in fact, make a perfect octave there from D natural up to D natural? Yes, we did. If we had ended on D flat or D sharp, heaven forbid, we'd know we'd made an error, and then we'd needed to start over and find where that error was. So it's a nice little checks and balances system built into this. So our D major scale is spelled D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. Kind of interesting that both of those tetrachords have the sharp note in the third position, right? D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. Very interesting. Let's play that one. Okay. That's another great way to check your work too, is to find an instrument or play them on the keyboard. And if you hear something that doesn't sound like a major scale, you know you've made an error. So to review, tetrachord are 4 pitches, and those are separated by 3 intervals. And those intervals in order are whole, half. And that's for ascending, right? Not descending, but going from a low note, moving upwards. You must use consecutive letter names when building your tetrachord and also in your major scale. And we know the major scale is 2 tetrachords separated by a whole step. And of course, as I said, you need to use consecutive letter names. You must start and end on the same pitch. And I'd also add that you can only use sharps or flats. You never want to mix the two. And if you follow the rules above, you'll always get it correct.